The petroleum industry was unequivocally warned of climate change due primarily to the combustion of fossil fuels by 1968. In 1968, a report from the Stanford Research Institute called Sources, Abundance, and Fate of Gaseous Atmospheric Pollutants was delivered to W.A. Burhouse, Assistant Director of the American Petroleum Institute's Committee for Air and Water Conservation, the successor to the Smoke and Fumes Committee. Authored by the Stanford Research Institute scientists Elmore Robinson and R.C. Robbins, the report addressed 6 pollutants, including carbon dioxide. It cautioned that rising levels of carbon dioxide would likely result in rising global temperatures, and that if temperatures increase significantly, the result could be melting ice caps, rising sea levels, warming oceans, and serious environmental damage on a global scale. The scientists acknowledged that burning fossil fuels provided the best explanation for rising carbon dioxide. They further recognized that existing science was detailed and seemed to explain adequately the present state of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The 1968 report from the Stanford Research Institute did not state definitively that there was a scientific consensus on questions of climate, but concluded significant temperature changes are almost certain to occur by the year 2000, and these could bring about climatic changes. Robinson and Robbins cautioned that these increased temperatures could result in melting ice caps, rising sea levels, warming oceans, and environmental damage on a global scale. In assessing future research needs with respect to carbon dioxide, Robinson and Robbins acknowledged that fossil fuel combustion provided the best explanation for rising carbon dioxide levels. More significantly, they concluded that past and present studies of carbon dioxide are detailed and seem to explain adequately the present state of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What is lacking is an application of these atmospheric carbon dioxide data to air pollution technology and work towards systems in which carbon dioxide emissions would be brought under control. By no later than 1968, therefore, the American Petroleum Institute and its industry members were being warned by their own scientific consultants that the links between fossil fuel combustion and rising atmospheric carbon dioxide were credible, that temperature rise was almost certain to result, and that the most pressing research need was into technologies to address and control the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere from the burning of fossil fuels. Although the American Petroleum Institute quickly embraced other aspects of the Robinson and Robbins report, the American Petroleum Institute asked the Stanford Research Institute to review their findings on carbon dioxide more extensively in a supplemental report submitted in 1969. This document has not yet been obtained when the Center for International Environmental Law initially published its smoke and fumes database in 2016, and it has not previously been reported by other sources. Accordingly, and in view of its early extensive treatment of climate issues, it is discussed at length here. Unlike the original paper, the majority of the Stanford Research Institute's 1969 supplemental report focused on only two pollutants, one of which was atmospheric carbon dioxide. This supplement repeated and further substantiated most of the core conclusions of the prior report, including its recognition that atmospheric concentrations of carbon dioxide were steadily increasing. 90% of this increase could be attributed to fossil fuel combustion, and continued use of fossil fuels would inevitably and inexorably result in greater carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. They reviewed the role of plant growth and of oceans both as sources of and as natural sinks for carbon dioxide. They found it unlikely that either changes in marine biomass or other natural changes in the biosphere could be responsible for rising carbon dioxide levels, and further concluded that neither of these natural sinks could keep pace with the excess emissions created by burning fossil fuels. As a result, Robinson and Robbins estimated that the projected growth in fossil fuel use would push atmospheric carbon dioxide to 370 parts per million by the year 2000. This estimate proved remarkably accurate. In their supplemental report to the American Petroleum Institute, Robinson and Robbins acknowledged that the increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide was of potential concern because of how it would affect the radiation balance of the Earth. They discussed at length and with approval modeling done by Manabe and Weatherald, and estimated that on the basis of those models, an increase in carbon dioxide to 370 parts per million would increase global temperatures by 0.5 degrees Celsius, 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit, by the year 2000. Again, Robinson and Robbins' estimate proved remarkably accurate. Between 1965 and 2000, long-term average global temperatures increased by approximately 0.5 degrees Celsius. They estimated that at 600 parts per million, temperatures would rise by 2.36 degrees Celsius, 4.2 degrees Fahrenheit, while also recognizing that the combustion of all then recoverable fossil fuels would raise atmospheric carbon dioxide to 850 parts per million, driving global temperatures still higher.